All right, today on LOLz, we have new developments in the sports betting tax space, and the state of Illinois is ready to pass the buck to the bettors in this case. And we're also going to touch on some more of the AI content conversation. It's been a theme around here the past few weeks, and now we recently had Yahoo lay off a few writers while also pushing some new AI content, which caused quite the stir on X this week. So we'll discuss that all today on LOLz with Pete and Bric.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Brian, we are back on LOLz. I was checking the comments the other day. People loved the Jeff Feinberg ramblings about the crazy world of sports betting Twitter and Spaces. So that show got rave reviews.
Good. Yeah, that was fun having Jeff on. I saw he posted something about the movie by his house, and they're offering him money to use his driveway, and he refuses due to his principled stance on no movies in the neighborhood.
Really? I missed that part.
He could just make content on anything, apparently, this Jeff Feinberg.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm having Pat Mayo's going to draft a team with me on Best Ball Breakfast on Monday, but I want to ask him about how his live show went. I saw a few photos, little clips from there, but it looked like a good time with those guys.
Yeah, with all this, AI talk, Pete, it's like, I think we got to compete with these Canadians taking over, the space. Maybe that's the problem.
Should we get back to, this current administration is on to their, 400th thing, but for a while we were trying to bring Canada into the fold. Should we get back to that plan?
Yeah, I think though, enough diplomacy. It should just be full scale invasion, and we need to put a stop to these Canadian touts.
What would a LOLz live show look like? I feel like I would have to come to Chicago because we know that you don't leave your house. And then would we have guests? Would we just do a 2-person panel? What would a LOLz live show look like?
We could probably get a few guests here.
Awesome. Live on location.
Vegas probably makes more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Although there are a ton of the DFS players in Chicago if we wanted to go that angle.
That's true, yeah. Trying to think. There, Colorado is another spot.
Yeah.
You could visit your family. There's a lot of Colorado players.
How many people, assuming we were in like a relatively big city, let's say Colorado or Chicago, how many people could we get? And let's even say that we're not even going to sell tickets, just like we're going to pay for the space. We're just going to let whoever wants to come watch us do a show. How many people do you think our LOLz live show could attract? Do you think we could get 10 people?
They also said like 3 to 7.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments if you guys can blow us away. If we have interest, if we have 20 people, then our egos can justify hosting a live show. I will say, Brad, I have thought recently, I think it's still crazy that we've never gotten to meet in person. We're due, one of us, either Chicago or Boston, for a meetup.
Okay, we could do that. I mean, honestly, Vegas isn't the worst idea either.
I know. I'm just out on Vegas. I'm like anywhere else you want to go. I'm down. But yeah.
Got it.
I'm just jaded. I did it a bunch. It's still fun. I guess here's the things in Vegas that still interest me. And I've told this to my buddies because we have our annual trip and we're always spitballing new locations to go to. I would love to see a show at the Sphere. That looks really fun.
Yeah.
I would definitely be down for that. And I've never done like a full NFL Sunday at Circa Swim. I watched a game there. That was a really fun experience too. Those two things I still like.
Wait, what's Circa Swim? Is that where you're doing it from the water?
Yeah, they have. So it's basically like a sports book, giant TV outside, but then like the pools and the cabanas and all of that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. the giant sports book full day stuff is fun.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two things I do want to do the most too, or find somewhere fun to eat too.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, the restaurants in Vegas, another selling point. I think I'm just a variety hound. There's so many places in the United States I have not been. I haven't been to Chicago in over a decade. There's just places I haven't been that I'm like, I've done Vegas 20 plus times. I want to see more of the continental United States, Brian.
How about Miami?
Miami, I've been to. Miami's fun. We're actually doing a ship chasing meetup in early August. We're going to be in Fort Lauderdale, and then we're going to go down to Miami. The name of the show, Brian, Ship Chasing. We got a hookup for some yachts that we're going to take out in the Miami Bay area, do some literal ship chasing. So yes, I'm in on that, obviously, as well.
Did you guys get a captain for those?
I think I'm going to be the captain. Thank you. You know what? You just there's an actual captain, but I'm literally making
good.
Peter get a prop captain's hat to wear for that.
Yeah, just get the prop hat. Don't actually try to be the captain, Pete.
No, I will have probably had a few drinks, and I should not be driving any large boats with members of this community on it.
Yeah.
All right, couple topics today. What do you want to hit on first? The follow-up on the AI Yahoo stuff, or do you want to get into some of the sports betting tax updates?
Probably AI.
Yeah. Yes. So the big I'll pull up this tweet that I saw that kind of kickstarted it. And we can use our friend Jeff's article to kind of help guide us through this story, because he just put up a piece about it. But Paul Chark, who actually one of my coworkers over at Fantasy Life, put a tweet out that's a screenshot of a Yahoo Sports article that was generated by AI. It has this, let me go to the actual tweet so we can expand it here. But it has this disclaimer on this article, Brian, that says, this article was written with the assistance of Cast Magic, an AI tool, and reviewed by our editorial team to ensure accuracy. And then this is actually the funniest part. Please reach out to us if you notice any mistakes. And this was obviously juxtaposed with the layoffs there. Andy Behrens, Don, I believe, were both laid off recently. And so the combination of letting go of some of your veteran fantasy writers while also pushing AI slop that you're actually asking your audience to edit for you had a lot of people mad online. Right.
Except Bales. Bales ecstatic at this whole thing. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
It's brings up a lot of thoughts for me. Like one is this Cast Magic, which I should have Googled before the show. Have you heard of this company yet?
I hadn't. This was the first time I had heard of Cast Magic.
Let's look them up, because I was thinking like comparing it to the takes, or what's Bale's app called? Takes.
Yeah, they have the gambling and then the takes
gambling
version. Yeah.
I'm imagining this was trained without asking. Because I mean, to be able to do fantasy football, I'm assuming it had to be trained on fantasy football analysts to some extent.
I believe in the comments, and I didn't read this article. Great, journalism prep by us here on LOLz. But I believe I saw in the comments that it was actually trained on some of their Yahoo podcasts, and they were basically farming their own Yahoo podcast for content for the article, because it features a lot of stuff from Matt Harmon, who's one of their other analysts who's still there, what he said on a podcast.
Got it. Okay. But regardless, my point being, Jet, that like there's going to be so many of these products that aren't going to be asking your permission for your public shit. Like they're just gonna scrape you and then train off of you. So like it's kind of like over. I think from that there is like a big lawsuit going on about that, but we'll see what they say. I think there is a chance it could maybe be like the whole Napster debacle, where not like this is great either, but a lot of the like super obvious public IP will be licensable through like a conglomerate like Spotify or And so instead of just free sharing like Napster, which is the internet, you'll be able to get access to Darth Vader's voice or something, for your bit, for this $20 a month fee to some company or something. I think there's like a chance it kind of goes in that direction, but like for this type of stuff, there's who knows if it can go in that direction. But I'm just like another chalk on the toe board for like, there's going to be these companies that are just going to scrape your shit and not care. There's going to be a lot of them.
Here's something that I've been thinking about, and this kind of dovetailed too when, people were pointing out some of the things that Takes was aggregating, and that there was a lot of like typos or, misconstruing things. Pat Mayo, I think, referenced on a podcast he did with Davis where like he was being sarcastic about liking a player that he actually didn't like. It was like, Pat Mayo's favorite guy is this. And he was just being like dead ass sarcastic with it. Like, to me, the point of AI, at least where it's at right now, is to use it as an efficiency tool to make your life easier as a content creator and on the back end and not having to start from scratch. But what I don't understand is why, whether it's Takes or whether it's this Yahoo article, why, like, they are full out admitting, like, we're not even vetting this. We're not even adding an extra layer of editorial control. In fact, we're going to ask you to proofread it. It's like, shouldn't you just be saying, hey, let's use our AI to train it on this podcast? Say, hey, Matt Harmon was recently on the Yahoo podcast talking up Jameson Williams. Here are some of his main points. And guess what? AI spits it out. But it's like, you're being transparent about it and using it in a way where it's like a win-win. If you just say, we're just like slopping this up because it took us 4 seconds to do it, of course you're going to alienate people. And why would you want your audience to have their first experience with AI be this one? Like, don't you want it to be so good that your audience doesn't even know, that it's almost like this seamless experience for them? Not saying you're trying to trick them, but you're not trying to advertise that this is the worst version of AI. And that's not saying it's not going to get better. I think everyone agrees it's going to get better. But in this point, if you're using it, add some human touch to actually make it fucking good.
You would think so. But are we too much of in a bubble there, Pete, where the average person might even think it's kind of cool? That it's like, ooh, this was generated by AI. Ooh. Hey, because like how many people are using AI to like, DFS, I can beat it. Let me just say, hey, here's a problem. It's called DFS and it's got all these rules. Give me a lineup for the US Open. People are using it specifically for that. So like if they're saving me this step of even interacting with artificial intelligence, what is this super smart artificial intelligence thing? Although we both know it's a large language model, it's not intelligent at all. A lot of people don't. And maybe they think the slop eaters out there think, ooh, that's kind of cool.
See, and I guess I remember because when we talked to the Billy Betts guy, right? And that was kind of one of my questions of like, right now you have that kind of novelty sheen of, oh my God, like AI can do this. Like you can have an AI agent making bets where you are just like, oh, AI is cool. Like that's cool. But what happens when that wears away? And it's like, okay, are you actually delivering in the same capacity that I would from a sports betting tout? I feel like we're past the sheen of like AI at this point. I feel like if you're going to put the article up, like it needs to be fucking good.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, it's really just more like, is there like a little bubble we're in, and does your average Because like one of the reasons I'm thinking like this is because I'm like juxtaposing these layoffs versus like Neil and Adam at Stochastic back in the day when we were covering that was like at the time we're like AI wasn't as big at all. And we were like, what are they doing? Like, this seems like a mistake because there's like a community aspect to this world. And when it's a big company like Yahoo, there's this kind of labor, lefty idea of like, you're just a cog in the system. And like that with these big companies. And it's like, that one's actually true. Like the bigger the company is, the more replaceable you are and the least they care about you compared to these small sites. So like these guys who they laid off could like help like a small company like run The Sims.
Yeah.
People who have an audience and a personality and can do content can like directly get subs and listeners, whatever you're looking for. But for Yahoo, it's just like a drop in the bucket. They don't give a shit. And so like that's why I'm saying, like, do they even care that like people like us will like look at this and be like, what are you doing? When the majority of their stuff is just their Yahoo, they're huge, they're everywhere.
And to me, that's more about what this conversation's about. And as you were saying that, I pulled up Nick Ercolano had some thoughts on it. And I thought he hit on more of the crux of the issue. A few things he said. Yahoo had been putting out AI articles for months prior to letting go of their writers. They did not let go of their writers in favor of AI articles. It's obvious that the media portion of their brand had lost significant attention capital to other brands and creators over the last 5 years, mainly because they've invested so heavily into writing blogging, which is how they became a staple to begin with, and that their current path was no longer financially viable. Thus the layoffs. Their YouTube channel is publicly viewable. They have 327,000 subs, and their average video gets fewer than 1,000 views. It's 2025. A strong base of blogging can only get you so far. These AI articles are a way of saying the blogs were no longer working for us, but here's a way we can get something up on the site for minimal financial investment. This situation is way less about AI taking jobs for now and way more about the general state of large media companies and their place in the fantasy industry. No shade at Yahoo. Some of the guys there, Brad Evans, who originally inspired me, yada, yada. That being said, 18 months ago, you could tell every time something was done using AI. In 18 months, you won't be able to tell a single time and you won't care. What do you think of those takes?
I think I agree with that exactly. Every single thing, word for word. And he, he's right too about the it's not AI. So here's the thing about the AI taking the jobs, and like we're giving Bales a little bit of shit last show about these people should lose their jobs, as they should, And I don't know if he ever clarified that later on, but I do think it was coming from like this creative destruction, like economics mindset where, but it makes a lot more sense if you're writing that in an economics book 100 years after the Industrial Revolution, to go like, during the Industrial Revolution, a lot of people lost their jobs, as they should, right? Because look how good the world is.
Yeah.
Way different than when, a couple bros who, like a lot of people in our community follow them, lose their job. It's like, it's not the most caring type of thought, right, for people who have lost their job. But like leaving that aside, I think he's right for the most part. It's not AI taking over the world. I heard a pretty good analogy, Pete, about the current state of AI. I thought was pretty funny. Is like if you take like a copy machine or a printer, it doesn't really matter, like a copy machine back to like 1940. And then you put like a copy in there, like, I'm alive, please help me. And then you bring it into a room full of people and then you press print and they, it prints out, I'm alive, please help me. They'd be like, oh my God, this machine's alive.
Right.
This is crazy. Right. And you put like another note in there. It's like, oh, it needs our help. Guys, everybody, this machine's alive. Right. AI currently is just like a really advanced version of that. It's just a matchmaking large language model, and what you put in is what you get out. It's still very cool.
Yeah.
But we're definitely not into the AI's Terminator 2 AI is taking over the world stuff yet.
Yeah, and I think like maybe like if you're being charitable to that like as it should thing, that comment from Bales, like circling back to that, I mean, like one of the things you could maybe posit is that like if AI can replicate your content, was it good content in the first place? At least where AI is at right now. Maybe down the road, in Nick's example, in 18 months, like I should revisit that take. Yeah. But right now, if AI can replicate it, it probably wasn't that interesting of content. It probably didn't have POV. It probably didn't have personality. It probably didn't have a ton of creativity that would make it engaging beyond the words and information itself.
This take might age poorly by the end of the show. That's how fast this thing
That's how fast it's moving.
Yeah, by the end of the show, we might 180 flip. Something might come out. It's advancing so fast. Yeah, but just currently. So, but I mean, I do think it is happening a little bit. Like you could probably say they wouldn't have done this if they couldn't have put up that the sloppy.
Yeah.
Like you could say like 20%. some jobs, maybe people have lost their jobs. Maybe it was like 50, 70% of the reason why. Like, I think that's fair. But like, also, I agree with his points about just, it wasn't making money. It was an old model and they're just putting something up there.
Yeah. And I do think like some of like piggybacking on some of Nick's take about maybe like a neglected YouTube channel. And the irony is, like Nick said, and I know someone was saying in the chat too, I once drafted a team for Andy Behrens. I had to call up Brad Evans. Those were some of my guys. I was telling Laura the other day when Andy got laid off, I was like, I remember when I first moved out here and I was really getting into fantasy football, I would like watch their show on Yahoo. Like, they were the dudes. There was like the CBS guys, Matthew Berry, and the Yahoo guys were the ones I found. And it was personality driven for me. I liked the rapport between Brad Evans and Andy Behrens. And you see how content evolved in YouTube and blogging and like one-on-one relationships with your audience. And I don't think Yahoo fostered that. They kept it more like, you're part of a newsroom. It's a fantasy newsroom, but you're part of it. And like, you see the limits of that in how content have evolved. And that's why I like Nick's point that it's more Yahoo almost ironically being a dinosaur, even though they're the ones utilizing AI, and how they thought about their content and their fantasy content than it is about AI specifically.
The idea, this is happening in bigger companies too, of people I know are working, but like with the farming your employees to replace them with AI. So farming the podcasting here or whatever, you like articles, because like, it's Yahoo's property after you write it for them on their dime.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure it's in your contract and it's Yahoo's property that podcast. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know the whole deals, but all these big companies pretty much work like this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jobs out there right now where you're basically working to create the thing that's going to replace you.
Well, the other hard part about that dynamic is, so take someone like Andy Behrens. I don't know if he said how long he had been at Yahoo. It had been a long time. Like I said, I remember watching him in 2010. It legit at least 15 years, probably more. He obviously has a Twitter following, that he's built up, that he owns. But outside of his Twitter following, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. And this isn't me being bearish on Andy Behrens. It's just talking about the dynamic of legacy media. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. He doesn't have an email list. It was kind of like the thing with Hoop, right? Remember when Hoop got shut out from Rub Pure Sports? And he was like, how do I get my voice out there? All I have is this Twitter account, and that's it. Once you're shut out of the site or the property that you've devoted your entire 100% content output toward, that's like a really scary thing, I think, for content creators who aren't like diversified in their platforms. Yeah.
This is like, I don't know how you protect this or what regulation works. So like I did say like on Davis's like Takecast a week or two ago, I do think there's an opportunity for some politician to kind of use this stuff for, promoting themselves to achieve whatever position of power they're looking for, where you could try to do like tax cuts or whatever incentives for individual and small businesses as opposed to the big boys and the big companies, because it's if he was incentivized to go out on his own or to build up something on the side, maybe he would have like a bigger platform. And I just think that gig economy, small creator economy that is growing into millions and millions of people, and you could potentially get votes. But really, like, the only thing I've thought was what I said earlier is that that Napster to Spotify model, where if you can force that, because it's impossible to like regulate this stuff, but if you get big enough businesses to agree to a framework, so like Amazon agrees to buy the Disney Spotify's IP for their AI slop, right? So like when they want to use a Star Wars thing or whatever, they give a little money for their fee, and then Photoshop goes, okay, if you want to use Photoshop and you want to use this stuff, you gotta pay the $10 for the fee. And like, even in this creator economy, you could kind of have that too. Like maybe that's like what the Gambly, like a Gambly type of thing, but for fantasy sports, where it's like, hey, you want an article on Yahoo? well, now because of this law, you got to give it to us, and then we give a little piece to all the guys we farmed for this content over the years. So like if you're involved and
you get a
and being farmed, you get your whatever a Spotify play is, which isn't much. Like it screwed over the musicians, right? It wasn't great, but it's just something that happened, and maybe that's a way it could go. Because right now you're getting nothing.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I was just reading the what's the latest? There's a big lawsuit now against Midjourney. Yeah, Disney and Universal are suing Midjourney for unlicensed use of Star Wars stuff, and part of their lawsuit, like people generating like stills that look nearly identical to stills from the movie. And the article I read is like Midjourney still only has like 11 full-time employees and have just been ignoring like all of these cease and desist things. But I guess when Disney and Universal come a knocking at some point, the piper is going to have to get paid there.
There's just like no way to legislate it. Like, cause if you let's say you train out everything you got on Disney stuff, but then you as an artist, like go in there and then change it a little bit, like enough where it's not clearly Darth Vader, it's a different guy kind of now. Like, how can they sue you?
Right.
Like, what are they going to get that for? So like that's why I see, if anything, that kind of top down model that's enforced by the government somehow. Like they got to, you bust somebody big.
Yeah.
And go like, hey, you didn't pay the new Spotify fee for your usage of this. This was definitely farmed from these sources. Just get somebody on it and make a big deal out of it. And then all the big boys who are heavy regulated, they'll go like, fine, we'll pay the fee. And then artists who get in earlier and probably the artist unions, they seem pretty powerful in California anyways. We'll get a piece of it and you'll get your pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, just as something to acknowledge that your work.
Like a little bit of your stuff came in training this large language model.
Yeah.
That's now going to be used in all sorts of other artistic ventures or media pieces like fantasy football. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess where I'm at is like, to me, I know there is a lot of like doomerism and a lot of like, if you read the reactions to like Paul's initial post, it's like a lot of people like being sad. And again, I think a lot of people were doing like the causation correlation fallacy specifically between the AI article and the layoff. But to me, it's like, there's an element of it's like, I want to step up my game. Like, I want to be better as a content creator. I want to do stuff that AI can't fucking do. Like, you want to let AI take over the world. All right, try to do what I do. And then on the flip side of it, as someone who like isn't opposed to like consuming really well done AI content, like make the fucking content better. Like, you are in this limbo period where you cannot afford to spit out slop with no additional editorial oversight. Fucking hire someone, make it good, and then people will actually have an appreciation for it of like, oh, this is what it can be. And then behind the scenes over the years or months, or in your case, hours today, maybe it gets trained to where you don't even need that. But right now it's not good enough and it is slop. And so it's like, use it as a tool right now until it's good enough to not be slop on its own.
Yeah, I agree. What are we going to like 18 months from now? Does that even like make sense? Is it going to be so good? Like none of that even matters. Like it's definitely possible.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I'm saying to like, because you have the extreme AI bulls or even like on the bail side. And it's like, you're telling us like this is happening and it's happening. And like, I think the smart people believe you, but it doesn't mean that the current product is good. And just from a marketing perspective, first impression perspective, like you are losing a large amount of people who might otherwise be interested in partaking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think that it's like these type of guys are just so much more valuable to small companies.
Yeah.
They're just so much more valuable than to Yahoo.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And then it is curious to see like the way like Andy Barron's former colleague at Yahoo, Brad Evans, he's done a lot of bouncing around over the years. He's had like, because he got to do a lot of cool things at Yahoo. They had like kind of a studio show and stuff like that. And he's like done partnerships with like gambling companies and had some studio shows, done some stuff on his own. And it's like, I think it's probably hard to be like, I liked my job that I had and the things I got to do, but then to, execute all of that essentially as an independent contractor is really, really hard, even if you had an existing audience. So it's like hard to know where these guys go. Like, I'm curious if someone like Andy Behrens would be interested in starting at a really small site. Like, what, he's probably taking a salary hit in exchange for maybe equity and way more editorial control.
Oh yeah. A big time salary hit. I would imagine Yahoo's probably pays fairly well. Maybe not. Who knows?
18 years at the company. I bet
then, yeah.
doing well. Yeah.
And that's like, I would guess like for Yahoo, they probably lost them money. It was probably just like, whatever their salary plus benefits were. Not that they aren't valuable employees or anything, but like for Yahoo as a whole, like what they gain for it and like what, and like ad revenue, I guess.
Well, they used to be, to your point, Yahoo was like the market leader for fantasy, like early on, like late 2000s, early 2010s. I think ESPN came on pretty hard there and took away a lot of market share. And now obviously you have like Sleeper, who's really big in that space. But I bet it was easy for Yahoo at the time to justify, look at all of these users and emails and people we have spending time on our site because of fantasy. Let's invest in this infrastructure from a content standpoint. But then it doesn't seem like they continued to invest in it or really scale it up. I guess they tried the DFS thing, but even that was kind of a failed experiment for them, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I love that site, and their best ball was underrated, I thought too. Like, but I'm always thinking of it from a competition standpoint, and they had like the worst players back then on both those best ball and DFS. But they didn't really push it that hard either. They didn't make a lot of improvements. They made some. They brought the CSV in. That brought over a lot of pros. Unfortunately, but I think with sports betting didn't help. They have a sports book too. So maybe so. Maybe my point, I'm not trying to insult anyone's like worth, obviously. I'm just saying,
no.
Like for a small company, like if they could get a small company 1,000 subs, like they're so worth it. You know what I mean? They're like that's like huge. Where for Yahoo, if you get 100,000 eyeballs on your article, like how much do they really get out of that?
Well, no, I think it's a good point too. And like, think about these guys, their biggest platform were Twitter. How much traffic, even when, Andy Behrens has how many Twitter followers? 68,000. How many, if the platform actually worked how it was intended, he could probably drive hundreds and hundreds of clicks to an article that he tweeted out to his audience, but that's not how the platform works. He's probably getting 10 clicks. I'm not saying because he's Andy, I'm saying because anyone who links out to an article is probably lucky to get, 10 clicks these days. So it's like, if you take away that aspect, and then your content and how you're leaning on them isn't personality based, you're not like tapping into a community, so to speak, then the value prop really does start to evaporate.
I just thought a little conspiracies, like, Elon suing Disney, et cetera, for billions. Now there's like a big lawsuit going on because they all pulled out when he bought it. I wonder if he put the ban hammer on the outside links and stuff as kind of like repercussion for that. Like, okay, you think you're just not going to give us any ad money, and then you'll put your little Disney link in your people who have 500,000 followers, and you get the clicks anyways. Well, guess what? I'm going to limit the reach on all these, any sort of outside marketing until you people start paying the company again.
Yeah. And I think I told you I had paid for the X Premium, not because I wanted the fancy blue check mark, but because I like to use the TweetDeck, the X Pro thing. And they were jumping up the price when I went to, it says it was going to auto renew. And I was paying like $200 a year. And it said it was going to jump to low 500. It was like 520 or 530. And I was just like, I don't use it that much. It's like not that valuable to me. So they really are like trying to lean into heavy monetization with their tools right now, like over a 200%, price hike.
Was that for the minimum level?
It was for the level that included my my X Pro TweetDeck or whatever they call it.
Wonder what
Yeah.
I'm paying. I paid for the minimum one, but I thought it was like $8. So.
Whatever version I had is no longer $8. But yes, I assume this isn't the first and last time we will talk about this. I will post in the chat. There's an article up on ingame.com from our friend Jeff Edelstein. He kind of went through this. Yahoo's high-profile terminations are an unnerving AI-fueled wake-up call for us all. You can read more about that if you'd like. But Brian, we wanted to talk a little bit. We had been tabling this for a bit, and then there had been a few updates about it, specifically in your neck of the woods with new tax regulations for the sports books that the sports books are now passing on to the consumer.
Yeah, we're a couple weeks late to the party. I'm sure people have heard about this or listened to any other podcast like ours. There was a pretty big bill passed in Illinois that also had this tax hike legislation. And so I asked around to find out what it's all about, if I could get any inside info on it. Did I lose you, Pete? Might have lost Pete. Can you all still see me? Am I still in chat? Or am I talking to nobody? Pete's StreamYard crashed. Okay, let's see if we can get him back in here. Okay, so I am on stream. All right, Pete's going to come back. So, unless he can't get his StreamYard to work, but we'll figure it out. So they passed. I couldn't find any. Long story short, I couldn't get any good information yet on any of the inside details at Springfield here at the Capitol, other than the governor Pritzker wanted this passed. So allegedly, who knows if that's true. So there's a huge budget issue, and I've said this on the show a couple times before, where state budget issues are a lot more serious. They're serious at the federal level too, but the federal government can incur $37 trillion of debt and still not go bankrupt, right? Which is what we're currently in. You can't do that at the state level. There's no Fed bank, there's no money printer, et cetera. So they actually do care about their budget, and he wanted he needed that money, and they passed this bill, which the sports books did not want, which shows you a lot about how much power the sportsbook lobbyists have, at least in Illinois. And that would mean not a ton to get this passed, because it was egregiously high tax, I think by any reasonable standard. It was, and it's leveled based on the amount of bets. There's two levels, amount of the bets. I think it's like 25 million bets or something like that. Whatever the number is, it's under and over that. It's 25 cents per bet. Doesn't matter. And 50 cents above that per bet. And so I saw someone say that the EV on a $10 wager for DraftKings on a side, like an NFL side, is their EVs on a $10 bets 50 cents. And now with this 50-cent tax increase, since they're the biggest one, they're going to meet the threshold. They would pay the state 55 cents on a $10 bet. So any bet $10, at least $10 or less, they are losing money. So I don't know how, and unfortunately Pete's not back because we have a tweet that we're going to show, which is FanDuel's already announced that because of this legislation, they're going to add a tax to every bet in Illinois. And I think it's 50-cent blanket, which makes sense too, because they they meet the threshold as well. Okay, well, Pete can't get back. So let's see. Well, let me finish my point here, and then I guess we'll just wrap it up since we're already 40 minutes anyways. So so FanDuel's already announced they're going to do the 50-cent thing on every bet. I can't imagine DraftKings isn't going to do the exact same thing. So I have no idea what that does to the Illinois market, the sports betting market, and how many people get diverted or changed and starting going to like offshores. Like that makes Bodog just like a better product for a majority of bettors, which, you know, it's not what they want. But the convenience factor of having the legal sports book in Illinois and easy payouts and stuff like that, I doubt many people will shift. But it does point out how little the legislature actually cares about gambling addiction, which was kind of my point of one of the reasons I always harp on, like, why are we as like the pro better content creators, or whatever you want to call it, why are we always mentioning and pointing out gambling addiction? Although it is bad when it does happen, like that's not going to help us at the Capitals, because you have to think of it as a game. The whole political system, if you think of it as a game, then it changes your approach from, like, if you think of it as like just like a person and you're in a conversation with who's like your friend or family member, where you're like, well, of course we don't want problem gambling to happen. Like, that's not how they're playing it. If they can use problem gambling to their advantage, they will. And if they can't, they will ignore it. And so, like, this was one case where the governor wanted that budget passed. They see gambling as a tax on stupid people. Gambling, you know, is a sin, that type of mindset. And you know, they're not really thinking through that. Like, could this actually just completely derail the sports betting product and you get less revenue? Because they think that gambling's a tax on stupid people, and stupid people still bet. And there's good reason for them to believe that too. Look at the lottery, look at the scratch off tickets, look at the tax rates on those markets, and people still buy them. So if you're Pritzker, you're not, you know, you have no reason to believe that this tax will kill the market in Illinois. Although for people in our world, it's insane. And like, why would you go that high? Now no one can beat, you know, basically no one can beat except syndicates. No small timer even has a shot, right? Unless they're betting significant, you know, like, I don't even know what it would have to be now. The minimum bet, you know, plus your edge at this point. So, and then problem gambling. So does an extra 50 cents per bet do anything for problem gambling? So, like, I would imagine what they would say is something like along the lines of, well, this gives us more revenue to fight problem gambling, right? Because they can always use it to their advantage. But the dynamic too that's also interesting is the lobbyists for DraftKings, FanDuel, etc. And I would be like, if I was Jason Robbins, I would be super pissed off. Like, how did we not hear about this? How did this get through? I imagine some of the local casinos that didn't get somehow involved or heavily involved in the online sports, because that's another thing too. It's online sports betting only. They didn't get involved. I bet they were pushing it, but I feel like there's some other group behind. But it might just be as simple as the governor wanted to patch a hole, and he's an idiot and doesn't know anything about an idiot when it comes to this market, and or just thinks of it as a sin, and gambling tax is a tax on stupid people, and so whatever, put 50 cents on it and fill the budget. Okay, we're done. But DraftKings is, I'm assuming, pretty pissed off. I'd be surprised if they don't just like fire a bunch of the lobbyists, or try something. Like they can't like pull out yet. They probably want like iCasino anyways to happen. But it goes to show you, like, it's not just all the company just deciding everything. Now, I would say they still have like time in the advantages on their side compared to like a betting group, because they're there forever. And Pritzker's not going to be. He's going to try to run for president, from what I hear anyways. So he might not be around for much longer as governor. Maybe they can get the next group in to get rid of this 50 cents and even push it even further. Depends on their influence. Like, I doubt they're going to give up. But it is a bummer for anyone who uses gambling as an entertainment product, recreational betting. They're going to see a 50 cent 50. I don't know how they're going to put it on there. This is something we talked about in this show before too, is a lot of these taxes are hidden in the price, and that's because it's law. So like your gas price, like there's a lot of tax on that for building the roads and stuff, but they don't tell you that. They say it's $3.50. They don't say, oh, and this much is for this and this much is for that. Or like cigarettes, a lot of these sin taxes, they don't let them separate out the tax because they don't want the pushback. So I don't know if they'll allow that. I don't know how they get around it, but it will be pretty crazy when you try to put a 50 cent parlay in a 3-leg parlay and there's a 50 cent tax on top of that. It's insane. I wish Pete was here, because I'm sure he'd have more to say on it too, and we'd have more of a back and forth. And it's so insane. There's jokes to be made. But I'm going to wrap it there, and I'm not even sure if chat's working. So hopefully this has been playing the whole time. But I'm gonna leave the studio now, Pete. So if you're still watching, you could close it out. All right, Pete.